Part C, trig inequalities. For example, 2 sine squared x minus sine x minus 1 is less than 0. Well, I'm going to start by factoring this. I have 2 sine x. I have sine x. I'm going to put a negative 1 over here and a positive 1 over here. So I'm going to get the sine of x equals negative 1/2 and the sine of x equals 1. My critical values are at, let's see, x equals 7 pi over 6, 11 pi over 6, and pi over 2. By the way, we're dealing with this inequality just between 0 and 2 pi. I'm going to make my number line with boundaries again at 0 and 2 pi. And let's see what happens when I plug in a couple values. If I plug in something like pi over 6, I'm going to get 2 times the sine of pi over 6 plus 1 times the sine of pi over 6 minus 1. Well, the sine of pi over 6 is a half. A half times 2 is 1. 1 plus 1 gives me 2. Over here, I again have a half. Minus 1 gives me negative a half. That first region will end up being negative. I think some other good values I can use would be pi, 3 pi over 2, and then I'm kind of stuck between 11 pi over 6 and 2 pi. We'll deal with that in a moment. Plugging in pi, 2 times the sine of pi plus 1 times the sine of pi minus 1. Sine of pi is 0, so 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1 gives me 1. 0 minus 1 gives me negative 1. So that second region is also negative. Next, plugging in 3 pi over 2, we get 2 times the sine of 3 pi over 2 plus 1 times the sine of 3 pi over 2 minus 1. The sine of 3 pi over 2 is negative 1. Negative 1 times 2 gives me negative 2, plus 1 is negative 1. Over here I have negative 1 minus 1, that's negative 2. That region will be positive. When you go and plug in something between 11 pi over 6 and 2 pi, well, one particular value would be something like 23 pi over 12. Watch what happens when I plug that in. I can still use the unit circle and some geometry to figure out what's going on. The sine of 23 pi over 12. Well, the sine of 11 pi over 6 is negative a half. So I know that the sine of something in between that and 2 pi has to be a negative number between 0 and negative 1/2. Has to be, I guess, more greater than negative 1/2. So if I do 2 times some number between 0 and negative 1/2, and then add 1 to that, I'm going to end up with something positive. Similarly, the sine of 23 pi over 12, that's some negative number. You take some negative number, you subtract 1, you get something that's even more negative. So we're still going to have a positive times a negative there, which makes that last region negative. I'm looking for the negative regions, so my answer should be 0 to pi over 2, union pi over 2 to 7 pi over 6, union 11 pi over 6 to 2 pi.